All right. Good evening from Indonesia and good morning to you guys, Sarah, Andrew, Tracy, and David. Welcome to our webinar in Finance Insight in Hospitality and Tourism for Hospitality Leaders. Uh, Today we have Sarah, Andrew, Tracy, and David from Shannon College of University of Galway, Ireland. As today we will be deep dive into finance insight in hospitality and tourism industry. So feel free for anyone to drop any question in Q&A or chat box during the presentation and perhaps joining our Q&A session later on. And right now, I think I can give the floor to Sarah, Andrew, Tracy, and David. So, guys, the floor is yours.
Great. Thank you so much, and good evening to everybody, and thank you so much for joining us for today's session. So if you bear with me 2 seconds, I hope you can see my screen okay there. Yeah, you can see it okay. Great. So we're delighted to join you today, all the way from Ireland. It's when I look out now, it's some blue skies today. We've had some lovely weather here in Ireland recently, so we were nearly as warm as Indonesia for a couple of weeks, but back to a little bit more normal weather today. So today we're really excited to talk to you as part of our webinar series with AECC. Today we're doing a deep dive into revenue and finance for hospitality and hospitality careers. Hospitality and tourism careers we will talk about. So I'm thrilled to be joined today by my colleagues. So you'll see here we have Tracy Hegarty joining today. We have David O'Donovan, and we have Andrew Langford. And each of them are going to talk a little bit about their specialist areas. But to start, I might just do a little bit of an introduction to Ireland itself for anyone who maybe doesn't know a lot about Ireland as a country, just to give you a little bit of an insight into the country itself. So firstly, Ireland is known as the land of 100,000 welcomes. So Céad Míle Fáilte in our traditional language. And for that reason, I feel that Ireland is a really, really good place for any student to consider coming to study hospitality, because hospitality is truly a part of our culture. It's a part of our history. And we really are, as a people, a very welcoming people. And we love to see people coming to our countries to travel, to work, to study, of course, and also a lot of people who have made Ireland their home. We are now the only English-speaking country in the Eurozone, so that is really beneficial for students who come to study, because not only will your studies be through English, but also all of your outside activity will be through English. So, you know, if you want to join some social sports teams, if you want to do social events, also if you want to get a part-time job, it's really useful that the language that you are surrounded by is English. So you don't have to deal with learning another language on top of the language you're studying in university. We are ranked as one of the friendliest and safest countries in the world, and that's on the Global Peace Index. So, of course, you're not just coming to Ireland to be a student, you're also coming here to live and to be a part of our community. So it is really important that you're coming to a place where you feel safe and also where you're happy and you can enjoy your experience. We're very globally connected in Ireland. We are a part of the European Union, and because of our geographic location, it means we're quite well connected we're located just here. So we're located beside the United Kingdom. Europe is all along here. So, you know, you have great connectivity to Europe. And then if you head the other direction, the US is the next stop across the Atlantic. So we're in a very good location for a lot of international businesses. And that is one of the reasons why we have been chosen as a European hub for a lot of international businesses. We also have our government are very heavily invested in research, so big amounts of money are put into research every year, which is really important. And then we also have a very culturally diverse community. So as I said before, a lot of people come to Ireland and do actually make it their home. So it means that you will meet people from all over the world if you do come to study in Ireland, which is really nice. There's great opportunities for part-time and full-time work when you come to Ireland. So while you are studying in Ireland, you can work for up to 20 hours per week during term time. And then outside of your term time, you can actually work full-time hours. So really, really good for students who, want to be able to earn a little bit of extra money while they are studying. There's also stay-back options here in Ireland for international students. So for students that are studying an undergraduate program here in Ireland, they have the opportunity to stay back in Ireland for an additional 1 year. And then for anyone studying a postgraduate program in Ireland, they have the option to come back or to stay on for an additional 2 years and work in Ireland as part of their graduate visa. We're also very lucky to have one of the highest minimum wages in Europe. So if you're 20 years or plus, then there is an opportunity to earn up to earn €13.70 per hour or more. So that is the minimum that you can earn per hour in Ireland. So really good opportunities to earn good money while you are in that part-time work. So that's just to give you a little bit of a taste of, I suppose, what exactly is going on in Ireland. And I suppose then just to hand over to my colleagues who are going to go through the topics that you're here to hear about today. So we're going to start off by talking about finance and revenue in hospitality. And my colleague Tracy is going to start off here, and then we'll hand over to David. And then after that, Andrew is going to go through some trends in careers here in Ireland for hospitality and tourism, and the job opportunities that are here as well. So I will hand over to Tracy, and I'll move along the slides for you, Tracy.
Thanks, Sarah. Good morning, everybody. Excited to be talking about one of my subjects this morning to you. My colleague David will talk after me, and we cover finance and revenue between the two of us across our degree programs. And we also cover revenue in part of as a module in our postgraduate as well. So when we look at the revenue and finance across our degree, all of our students who study our Bachelor of Business Studies cover revenue and finance throughout the duration of their degree program. So in year one, Introduction to Management Accounting and Introduction to Financial Accounting. In year three, you'll have a Management Accounting 1 and Business Finance. And then in year four, there's a dedicated module, Revenue Management, as well as Performance Management, Cost Control, and Asset Management, which is an elective module. And whilst Revenue Management is covered as a dedicated module in year four, elements of revenue management are covered throughout year one and year three in the front office lectures also. So it's tried to let the students know that there's a link between all of these subjects, and that when you're involved in just checking somebody in at the front desk, that this has an impact on revenue management, the overall subject as well. Okay, Sarah? And I suppose, who am I? My name is Tracy Hegarty. I'm Deputy Head of the College, and I lecture in Revenue Management, Rooms Division, and Information Technology. So 3 subjects that are quite interlinked. Revenue Management has been a core module here in Shannon since 2015. It was introduced, I suppose, to meet market demands and to recognise the importance of it in the wider hospitality industry. In addition to my lecturing role, I'm a graduate of Shannon College, and I manage the alumni database, engaging sort of with alumni locally, internationally, keeping up with their movements, where they go, keeping our database up to date, organising chapter events. And we're very much a small college here. We know everybody. So having taught all of the students throughout their time in Shannon, it's a very logical progression for a staff member to look after the alumni database and to be a point of contact for graduates all over the world. And in addition to, I suppose, the database and the network side, our alumni are extremely giving. They come back. We have guest speakers. I think last year was one of the busiest years for us, having guest speakers. Our alumni love to come back. They can never believe they're old enough to give a talk, because they remember sitting as students and hearing guest speakers. But it's hugely valuable for our students to have guest speakers come back in and reinforce the teaching that we're doing in the classroom. And we have guest speakers across all of our modules. In addition to them coming back to talk to us, to our students, they are very welcoming and open with their hotels and their businesses, that we will visit hotels, we'll visit breweries, we'll visit distilleries, we'll visit tourist attractions. We'll be given very, I suppose, wide access to their policies, to their procedures, to their figures. They're extremely generous in the information that they share. And this can be hugely valuable for students, again, to form the link between what we're doing in the classroom as well as in the real world. And students always love to get on a bus and go away from the college. So that's always a very exciting and memorable day. And finally, as mentors, our graduates are extremely giving of their time. They are employers to a lot of our students. They act as a mentor to the class when they're what we call a class patron. They're there to guide the students when, I think, as Andrew will talk later, the wide variety of careers that are available to students when they graduate can be quite daunting, because there's so much that they can do, and often they just need somebody to, I suppose, listen to them and to give them their advice as to what they could do. So again, this is where our alumni are super supportive to all of our students. So the module, the designated module of revenue management, takes place in year 4 of the Bachelor of Business Studies, and it is a core module that all students have to take. It covers both the principles of revenue management in the hotel industry, and I suppose as a nod to the wider hospitality industry, it's alluded to, and we've started to spread it and the references within that a lot. So because I suppose what helps, it's quite a theory heavy module, but everybody who sits in the classroom is a customer as well. So they have all booked flights, they have all booked hotel rooms, so they know what it's like from the customer's perspective, and often it can be quite a light bulb moment for them to see where those policies and why they paid that, and why they got a good deal and why they didn't get a good deal. So whilst it can be a theory heavy subject, every student practices as a customer revenue management in their day-to-day living. So that can be, I suppose, a very useful learning tool. And when the students come into year 4, it's covered in semester 1 as an entirety. We have 2 lectures per week, and that is the format of the module. I suppose, what do we aim to do? So the aim of the module is to introduce students as to how revenue management is executed and the impact it has on business performance. So quite often, even the term revenue management, they might align it more to the finance and managing your revenue coming in and counting it and everything, but it's not. It's trying to see that generating more revenue has a big impact on your bottom line. And we look at it sort of from the viewpoint of a revenue manager who has to manage the complex activity from a systems perspective. And a large hotel might have a director of revenue, it might have a group director of revenue, or a smaller business might have somebody who looks after the revenue management side as part of their other duties. So it could be a reservations manager, it could be a front office manager who also does this. So quite often it's the role of a revenue manager, not necessarily the position on an organization chart. So that's very important, that you allude to how this can be done in bigger properties, but If you set up a small little coffee stall or an ice cream stall on a hot day, there's revenue management involved in that, that you've got a limited supply and you maximize the revenue that you can based on the circumstances. My hope is that students develop an understanding of revenue management. I suppose today's environment is very challenging. There's constant, I suppose, turmoil in travel. It's trying to manage events. It's trying to manage the impact that something that happens somewhere else can have on your business and how you have to stay abreast of that. So I suppose going back to the second bullet point, when I talk about it being systems, that there's a system to kick in when demand is high. You've got a system that will help you when demand is soft, and how you manage all of that. So it's to try and give them a pullback, sort of a helicopter overview of it. No, you're fine, Sarah, go on. And some of the topics that we cover, pricing strategy. And I think students always get very engaged with this as to how does a hotel come up with its prices. And here in Ireland, we're one of the few countries in the world that legislate prices. All registered hotels in Ireland have to register at the middle of the year what their rates for next year will be. So all registered hotels in Ireland by September, October this year will register what their maximum selling rate is for next year. And this protects the customer, but obviously it provides challenges for revenue management to try and flex their rates and to try and get as much as they can, because it's much more transparent for the customer. So we go online because I suppose the internet is an open book in terms of what we can do. They do an awful lot of researching and pricing strategy. And I'll talk in a moment about a project we do which comes back to that. The whole area then of distribution channels, how hotels are selling their rooms, what the best strategy is. We look at the online travel agents versus selling direct, what the best way to do it, what suits some hotels, what doesn't suit others. The magic of forecasting. You try to explain that you can only do educated and systematic forecasting because you will never know. I'm forecasting now for the month of August and I don't know what's going to happen. I could have a resort property by the sea and we could have amazing weather. So that will cause a surge in demand, and my forecast will have to reflect that. Or I could be a resort by the sea and we have terrible weather and there's a lot of cancellations. And again, how that is managed. So we look at how to do forecasting, how to control availability with minimum length of stay. So not allowing somebody to check in on a Saturday night, that they would need to stay for 2 nights if you're a busy weekend hotel. And a lot of discussions go around this because the students have seen it from their own perspective as customers, but also over the duration of their work experience, they might have been behind the front desk and seen how customers react to this. So it's always very interesting to have these discussions in class. The cost per acquisition, how much it costs for you to get a room. So if you're selling your rooms on an online travel agent, the cost per acquisition is the commission rate for that. But if you're selling it directly on your own website, how do you calculate how much it costs for you to get that reservation? So we discuss that. We look at all of the different costs. It's never an exact science, but to try and help them to work through what would be involved in trying to determine how much it costs for you to sell your rooms directly. That maybe paying commission is an easier cost to manage than trying to manage selling directly. So again, jumping from one side of the book direct and the online travel agent fence back and forth as we go. Benchmarking and the importance of benchmarking to revenue management. We are partners with STR, the global online benchmarking company, which are now part of CoStar, and we study a lot of benchmarking in line with guest lectures from them. So I'll discuss that in a moment. We obviously then move on to total revenue management, so move out from just bedrooms and we look at all of the different revenue that comes in from all aspects of the hotel, food and beverage, activities, conference and banqueting, spa, leisure. And then as a companion to this, students complete hotel sims as part of the strategic management module in the first semester also, where they get to put the theory that they have learned from me into practice, where they run a hotel in competition with each other and they have to set rates and they have to complete a request for proposal for companies and business that wants to come in. So that's to try and encourage them to have joined up thinking. not always as successful as we would hope. That it can, I think nowadays all of my colleagues would agree that to try and get the students to connect all of the subjects together, that's what we're permanently trying to do. So that's what the aim of that is, to give them something practical, which they always enjoy. Thanks, Sarah. I mentioned we have guest lectures and that our alumni will deliver guest lectures for us. So every term I have at least 3 guest lectures. One on benchmarking, and it's usually the client relationship director with STR, Sarah Dignan. She comes over, she gives the introduction to benchmarking, gives very, very current industry facts and figures, has been 20 years with the company, so is able to answer any questions that the students have. We, for the past number of years, prepared students to study one of their certifications, which was HIFIA. STR have discontinued HIFIA, but we continue to make sure that they're up to speed, so that when they go into hotels, that the star reports and the daily reports like that, they're familiar with, so to give them real world benefit when they go on their placement. Online distribution, the speakers I get here have traditionally been alumni who work with online distribution, assisting hotels, organizing book direct strategies, helping the students to tie in to calculate how much the cost per acquisition is, the benefits, the challenges, monitoring where your business is coming from, what time your customers are on site or on your websites. So a huge, huge variety of that. And then I have a former revenue manager who has her own revenue management consultancy now, and she usually comes and has a very engaging class with students to show what is involved, the reports you look at daily, the decisions you make. So we have 3 guest lectures, which the students always love. And then if somebody else is in the area or a graduate who's around would love to talk to the students, we'll always encourage that also. Okay, Sarah. And then what the students are always interested in is how do they get the marks. In all of our subjects here in Shannon, we give 5% for attendance. This encourages the students to be there. I think it's quite unusual in 3rd level to have this, but we're very, very lucky, and we feel it works very well to encourage attendance and class participation. Give them a test in week 6, it's worth 10%, and it's based on benchmarking. They'll have a group assignment where they have to monitor pricing in different hotels. They have to select hotels, select a particular date, track the pricing across the hotel's own website, across Booking Direct by calling the hotel, and by an online travel agent, and examine what's happening in the area, the towns they've gone to, and what could be happening. So it's a very real world assignment that they get. I think it can be very informative, ringing the hotels and to see how reservations are dealt with, and they would remember that they might have been like that themselves to a potential guest. So it's usually something that they find very interesting. It's more a hands-on balancing theory as opposed to a theoretical assignment. And then they have an end of semester exam with 50%. Thanks, Sarah. And I'll hand over to David now.
Thanks, Tracy. Hi, everyone. Delighted to be on the call today. So just my own details there. So I'm the program leader for both the Bachelor of Business Studies and the Bachelor of Commerce degree programs here in Shannon. And as well, I teach accounting and finance. So the modules that Tracy would have listed there at the beginning of her section there, I would teach a number of those modules, both in year 1, year 3, and year 4. So what I might just talk about very briefly is about one of the modules in year 3. So Sarah, if we could roll on a slide. Brilliant, thank you. So in year 3, students do a module called Business Finance. So it's SC 3204 to give it its correct title. And even just before I talk about this module, I should say, like students, before they start their degree program here in Shannon, there isn't any requirement to have done accounting or finance before. So some students kind of might be a tiny bit apprehensive about doing accounting and finance for the very first time. But what I always say to students is that there's no need at all to be in any way worried. Everything is covered with the assumption that people have no prior knowledge. And I think I'd say if I did a bit of a survey on the students that would start each year here in the college in year one, I'd say about maybe only 15 to 20% would have actually done accounting before, and that would include both the domestic students in Ireland and international students coming in from abroad. So very small number would have actually covered accounting and finance before. So just important to maybe just mention that. So yeah, so in year 3, this module, business finance, so it is a semester 2 module, and this module, I suppose, would build on what students would have covered in first year in the accounting modules in first year. So Tracy would have mentioned there in year 1, students would do introduction to financial accounting and introduction to management accounting in year 1. So this module will build on that knowledge that students have covered. So just the aim of it is, I suppose, to develop a knowledge, the skills associated with having the financial management application in the hotel industry in relation to investment, financing and working capital management. So just that term, business finance, that essentially means managing the company's finances. And just another word for that would be financial management. So just if anybody have come across those terms before, so financial management is the same as business finance. Literally, it's how do we manage the company's finances. So in this module, we're not really interested in preparing the financial statements. That will be covered in other financial modules. So it's like, how do we manage the finances in terms of investments that they make, in terms of financing. So where do they get the money from if they're looking to finance different projects? And in a minute, I'll talk about the different key module topics, and also look at working capital management. That looks at kind of their day-to-day finances. How do they manage them? So Sarah, could we maybe roll on one more, please? Thank you. So just in terms of, I suppose, the material that I would use, and I know I suppose every lecture will be different in the material they use. So for all of my modules, I would prepare a lecture note pack. So each student would receive a physical copy of that pack, and also they would get access to a soft copy as well. So it's handy to have a soft copy to download onto your laptop. But a lot of students would prefer to have a physical copy, so both are provided. So the note pack would contain all the lecture notes for the module. It would contain past exam papers. It would contain practice questions that I would be covering in the class. So it's a really good learning resource. In addition to that, then there would be recommended readings that are available here in the library. So there is an excellent library here on site in the college. So all the core textbooks would be available there in the library as well. And in terms of in the classes itself, so I would use a mixture of PowerPoint slides and numerical examples that I would go through when I'm covering the various topics. So for my modules, it's very much just interactive, and it was accounting as a module, and business finance is no different, that students really do need to be practicing the topics as they go through. So I suppose every module is different. Some modules might be more theory orientated, whereas for the finance and the revenue type modules, it's very much that you do need to be practicing. So that in class it would be maybe we might briefly talk about a topic with a few slides, get into an example on the whiteboard in the classroom, or type it up in Word on the screen. The students are practicing as they're doing, and really I find that's beneficial. And even in the feedback that students would give at the end of each semester, they would kind of welcome that approach, and it's very much, I suppose, that they're learning as they're doing the topics covered. So the next slide here, we have just a list of the main topics in business finance. So don't worry, I'm not going to go into huge detail in these, but there's about 6 or 7 main topics in the module. So firstly, we look at ratios. So for ratios, they're literally how we look at compare the performance of the company year on year. So we can divide up the ratios to like 5 different categories. There's like profitability ratios, that looks at how profitable the company are. Liquidity ratios, basically what's their cash flow situation like. Efficiency ratios, how efficient are they managing their resources. Gearing ratios looks at like their debt capacity, like have they loans with financial institutions. And the 5th category is investor ratios, for maybe investors thinking of investing into the company. How good is the company performing? And the ratios that we would cover in business finance, so they would link back as well to ratios that are covered in one of the year 1 modules, Introduction to Financial Accounting. Second topic we would look at is investment appraisal. So for companies, if they do a big investment, and I suppose you might be saying, what's big? So something substantial, like maybe expanding their capacity, like a hotel decides to build on 50 new rooms, or a business decides to expand, it's a manufacturing company, and they decide to build a new warehouse and use the warehouse as their in their line of business. So any big expenses like that, they need to be evaluated before they're actually undertaken. That'd be like you or I, if we decide to buy a house tomorrow morning, you do a bit of a due diligence and before you buy the house. If you buy a new car, that would be a substantial expense for you. So the same for a company. If there's a big expense, it needs to be evaluated. So there's different means and methods to appraise that, and we look at them in that. We also look at taxation. So companies, like any individuals, we need to pay tax. So companies pay tax to the government, and we look at basic the effect on the tax on those big capital expenses. We look at capital rationing and risk. So capital rationing looks at if the funds are limited. So if you don't have enough money to do everything, to be like you or I, we'd all like to go on more holidays, probably we'd all like to do more things, but money is a constraint for us. So for businesses, we look at how they overcome that constraint and how do they make the most of the funds available to them. Sources of finance, kind of self-explanatory. Where does the money come from? So for companies, do they go to a bank and get a loan? Do they get investors on board to invest funds? Where is the money coming from? And there's advantages and disadvantages of each source of finance. And for companies, not every source might be available. So they might have to, they might be limited in the sources available to them. So we look at them in more detail. And also we look at, I suppose, nowadays it's kind of more, there's more newer types of finance coming available. So we look at them as well. With working capital management, I mentioned that very briefly there, and it was in the previous slide. So in terms of managing their short-term capital requirements, in terms of their cash flow on a day-to-day business, on a day-to-day basis, we look at managing, like if we sell goods on credit to customers, and by that I mean they pay at a later date, so we need to collect that money from them. So we look at all of that, and oppositely, for suppliers who we might buy material off and we buy on credit, that means we pay at a later date, the management of that. So it's important for companies to be able to manage their working capital, and we cover a little bit on that. And just the final topic we look at is the cost of capital. So for companies, there's a cost to get funds. I suppose the most obvious example there is that you go to the bank for a loan, the bank charges you interest. So the cost of capital there is the interest rate that you're paying to the bank. So if the bank charges you 8% interest, well, that's costing you 8% to get the funds. If you go to investors and they need a return, you might give them a dividend. So that's the cost to you. So we look at basically what is the cost for us to get the funds. And a lot of times the funds might be collected from different sources. So it's referred to as an average cost of capital. So I know that's a really rapid listing there of them, but it just gives a little bit of a feel for the topics. And we would cover them in detail, mixture, as I said, with the slides, the examples, just to give students a good awareness. Because it's a degree we're doing, and it's important, like finance, as Tracy mentioned this there, like the whole revenue finance is obviously very important. And all of this kind of feeds into our overall understanding of how the business works. And if we don't manage the finances very well, unfortunately, then it'll be hard for the company to be sustainable. So that's why it's really important that we have a good understanding of the financial side of the house. In the next slide, we just have a brief rundown on the assessment of the module. So similar to what Tracy said for the revenue management module, so there's a 5% attendance allocation. For the business finance, there's 2 class tests. So both these class tests are worth 12.5%. So there's one in week 6 and week 11. Each of those are 50-minute duration. So I think the week 6 one was a multiple choice type assessment. So the students might have had, I think it was 20 questions, and they had short questions and multiple choice. So you pick one out of 4 based on the topics we would cover from week 1 to 6. The second class test was more longer type questions, and again worth 12.5%. The end of semester exam then was worth 70%, and that was a 2-hour duration. So for that, students had a compulsory question that was worth 40 marks, and then students had to complete 2 30-mark questions, and there was 3 available. So there was a small bit of choice. So 1 compulsory question, and then complete 2 out of 3 30-mark questions, and that gave up the 100 din. So as you can see, the semester exam obviously is a far bigger, that's the most important weighting, 70%, while the continuous assessment brings up a total of 30. So some of the other accounting modules, it might be an assignment that they might have as part of the continuous, but for each of the accounting and finance modules, the end of semester exam is always worth 70%. It's just that continuous assessment part might vary module to module depending on which one. On the next slide, I think there's we have just I suppose few reasons and highlighting the importance of good financial management. So I just mentioned it very briefly there, that if we don't keep handle on the finances of the business, it's going to have negative implications. So we ensure business sustainability. Are we able to sustain? And I mentioned about liquidity there, about having the money to keep trading. It'll support strategic decision making. So the decisions we make, I just mentioned there earlier about the big expenses and evaluating those expenses. So they're important decisions, so they need to be evaluated. Improves budgeting and forecasting, so that would fall under management accounting. So in year one, students do introduction of management accounting. So within that, we do budgeting. So budgeting is like planning ahead. So you plan ahead for the upcoming period, 6 months, 12 months. So it's really important that we plan ahead, and especially for our funds to be like you or I as individuals. So we'd make a plan. So if you get paid monthly, you make a bit of a plan how you're going to spend your pay for the month. You wouldn't just hopefully not spend it all on the first day. So you plan ahead. We control our costs. Keeping control of costs is obviously essential. Enhances profitability. It strengthens investor confidence. So like making good decisions. So investors, they would look at the company to see, is it a good fit for them? It also ensures regulatory compliance. So the legal requirements that are for companies, are we abiding by them? And also facilitates crisis management. So if we run into financial difficulty, are we able to make the decisions to get us back on track for them? In terms of and I know this is Tracy's section here, for the parts of good revenue management, just rapidly. So just maximizing the revenue, optimizes inventory use, improves forecast accuracy. That would link back to what I said about the budgeting, enhances competitive advantage, supports customer segmentation for companies. It's important that hotels are like no other, same as every other business. There's different segments of customers, so it's important that we we can identify each type of customer, and I suppose be able to deal with their requirements. It boosts the return on investment. So ROI, remember I mentioned there about the ratios earlier. So ROI would be a ratio that we can look at the performance, informs marketing strategies for the company, and encourages innovation. So for any companies, it was really important to be innovative, and good revenue management will assist our ability to be innovative, not be static, to improve and constantly strive to move forward and improve. And just as the last point says there, that if you combine the two, good revenue management and good financial management, hopefully it create a resilient, profitable, and a competitive hospitality/tourism business further going forward. So I know that was very, very, very quick, really a whistle stop tour, but hopefully just gives you a bit of a feel for kind of finance and revenue in Shannon. Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks so much. That's brilliant, and I suppose good to have an understanding of why it is taught as part of all of our all of our programs here, that it is vitally important to any business. And as you know, as both Tracy and David have mentioned, that really hospitality, hotels, they are businesses at the end of the day. So all of these things are really vitally important. So this is why they are part of all of our curriculum here in Shannon. We're going to move on to the second part of our webinar, where I'm going to introduce you to Andrew Langford. And he's going to speak to you about careers in hospitality and tourism. So I suppose the reason why you'll come to study in a place like Shannon, you know, is to improve your opportunities and to hopefully get really good opportunities for your career and your future. So Andrew is going to speak to you a little bit about that.
Thanks a million, Sarah. I suppose quick introduction to myself. So my name is Andrew Langford. I'm the head of placement studies in Shannon College, and I also lecture in beverage studies. So my background is in food and beverage training and development. And I also work with World Skills International as chief expert for restaurant service. So, I come from a practical background, but now I find myself in a position of looking at the careers and getting our students into careers after and during their time in Shannon. So I suppose one of the big things about tourism and hospitality careers in Ireland is that actually the interest and awareness of tourism and hospitality careers is ranked as one of the highest areas to work in the industry ahead or across various industries ahead of IT, banking, law, marketing, etc. So people are interested and people do know about careers in the hospitality industry. And just to give, I suppose, a bit of an industry overview, the hospitality and tourism sector in Ireland is one of the largest indigenous industries. It employs over 250,000 people, so 254,000 people are employed across the tourism and hospitality industry. And considering, our population of Ireland is roughly about 5.3 million, it's quite a sizable part of our population that is working in this industry. And I suppose Sarah alluded to that in her introduction, the importance of it to Ireland. We are the land of 100,000 welcomes, and a lot of people are involved in that. In 2003, we had approximately 6.3 million people travel to Ireland, spending about 5.3 billion, and that excludes their fares in getting to Ireland. So that's what they spent when they were in the country. So from a financial point of view, it's a very important element to our economy. In Ireland, and there, as Tracy and David were talking about, bringing that element of finance and revenue management is very important to manage all that money that's coming in. The industry is expected to grow in real terms by about 5%. And I suppose, we're looking at extending that growth. If we look at the actual numbers of people who have arrived into Ireland, we're looking at, an industry that's welcoming about 6.6 million people to the country. And that's, I suppose, back on the back of the COVID pandemic, which stopped a lot of travel. If we go back to 2019, pre the COVID pandemic, Ireland was welcoming about 9.3 million tourists annually. So we still have a little bit of a way to go to get back to our pre-COVID numbers, but we are getting there. And the interest in careers in hospitality is definitely really increasing. I suppose one of the questions that we do ask, Sarah, if you want to move it on there, is, what is a career in tourism and hospitality? And I've just I've taken a quote from a recent article which was published in an Irish newspaper advertising to students who are leaving school about careers in various different industries. And they one of the things that stuck out to me was a part of that article that says, why work in tourism? And it was, tourism isn't about sun loungers and hotel check-ins. It can mean anything from managing festivals to running a luxury resort through to working in a global tourism brand. And I suppose this is very, very important to understand. When you study hospitality or hotel management, you're not just studying about working in hotels. You're learning skills that are going to allow you work in the real world. And that real world will require you to have skills in relation to communication, in relation to problem solving, in relation to business management. Again, as David and Tracy were talking about there, the importance of understanding how to run a business as business finance, how to manage your revenue, how to project your revenue. All those skills are very important. And when you study tourism and hospitality, you are studying with us a business degree and giving you those essential skills that you can carry through, not just in hotels, but in all other areas. So what is tourism? So, it includes hotel management. It includes areas of catering services. So, that could be anything from chefs working in catering facilities, in hospitals, in event areas. travel and tourism. So, you know, this can include anything from travel agents, bus drivers, taxi drivers, you know, and all these jobs people don't generally see, you know, quite often as being travel and tourism, very much linked to travel and tourism. And then you have the whole side of event management, again, which looks at, you know, anything from running a local event in your local area to large corporate events, sporting events, and even, you know, world concert tours. And we have students who have left us in Shannon and branched out into other areas. So we have students who travel the world with Formula One, you know, working with event management with the Formula One team. So it's not just a career in tour or in hospitality or in hotels that people are going to. And then customer service is another area that we find our students venturing into. And it's the whole world of, I suppose, not the person who answers your, well, it can be the person who answers your phone when you have a problem with your IT, but more so customer service in relation to corporate management of corporate offices. So a colleague of mine who I went to college with runs a service to office management company, and they manage the hospitality side of the business for lots of the big banks of the world, lots of the corporate companies such as Apple, Google, Facebook, and these are jobs again that people come from our tourism and hospitality industry to go into. So Sarah, if you want to move it on there again. This, I suppose, again, just to touch on the importance of, you know, the wider tourism and hospitality industry, and our hotels service, our hotels, I suppose, restaurants and other accommodation providers service all the visitors who travel to Ireland, and the people who work in those need to be professional people. But it's not just about, you know, as the last slide said there, you know, looking at, you know, checking people into hotels. It's about what they do when they are here as well. You know, what are visitors going to do? What attractions are they going to see? And those attractions can be, you know, anything from a local garden that people can visit. So in Ireland, some of our more popular attractions are, for instance, here you can see in the slide, the Phoenix Park Visitors Centre, which is one of the largest urban parks in Europe. The Guinness Storehouse, a very famous attraction in Ireland that educates people on the history of the famous Irish pint of Guinness. And then we have other attractions such as the Cliffs of Moher, which the picture featured in my last slide. You know, and again, management of those areas are very important. And I'm happy to say we've graduates who work in all those areas. So the Guinness Storehouse for many years was managed by a Shannon graduate. The Cliffs of Moher visitor experience was managed by a Shannon graduate. And these are because of skills they've developed through an education in hotel management and business studies at their time in Shannon. It makes them, you know, I suppose, viable candidates to work in this area. So Sarah, if you want to move on then. So the next thing to look at, I suppose, is employment trends. So, you know, one of the biggest challenges that faces our industry, and I'm presuming it's not specifically in Ireland from my conversations with our partners all over the world, is recruitment and recruitment and retention has become less difficult in Ireland for the third year in a row. And this is again on the back of the COVID pandemic. During the pandemic, you know, we all know hospitality businesses really shut their doors. There was no travel coming in, so there wasn't a requirement for all these hotels, all these visitor attractions, and people started to look at working in other areas. So it's been a quite difficult time for the tourism and hospitality industry. But it's great to see that retention of people has become less difficult for I suppose over the last couple of years. One of the things that's really great to see is that most workers are now seeing long-term careers in the area of tourism and hospitality. And out of those research, and this research was carried out by Fáilte Ireland, and Fáilte Ireland are the Tourism Development Authority for Ireland. And this was a survey carried out in 2023 and published in 2024. And it looked at about 76% of people who were surveyed working in the hospitality industry were looking at staying in the hospitality industry as a long-term career. So rather than seeing it as just a job, as you move on to something else, it's now seen as a very solid career for people to go into. And I suppose more importantly, 60% of employers say that compensation has improved. So the compensation that you receive, so Sarah alluded to that there, the minimum wage in Ireland is 13.10, if I can remember back to the slide. But there are much, I suppose, as you move through a job and you move through as a career, those your salary will increase to other levels. And I suppose one of the drivers of these trends in employment is a real interest in the sector and the variety of jobs on offer. So we talked to lots and lots of people, and Sarah would directly, along with our schools liaison officers, would talk to people who are interested in working in the hospitality and tourism industry. And some of the things that some of the issues that people see of working in there is the perception of low pay, the unsociable hours, but those are things that are being worked on. But some of the positive elements are the variety of jobs. So back in my last slide, talking about the different jobs that you have when you go into the tourism and hospitality industry, the flexible working options, and as well the career progression that people see. Working in a hotel now isn't just, people don't see it as just being a waiter. You look at the people who are managing the business, the revenue managers, the financial managers, the food and beverage managers, the front office managers. Those are all very business orientated roles now. And then moving on to, your general managers, your directors of hospitality companies. Those are all very important roles that, with an education in hospitality, you can very easily move into. So if we can move on to the next slide, I suppose we're looking at the skills needed. And these are essential skills for careers in hospitality and tourism. Communication, flexibility, customer service, problem solving, teamwork, and on top of that, business skills, people skills. And these are all real world skills that are not just important for tourism and hospitality, but are being sought by other careers as well. And I can say that, we've had we're part of the University of Galway, and we've had visitors and lecturers from the University of Galway visit us in Shannon, and our students as well on our Bachelor of Commerce programme attend the main university campus in their final year. And the feedback we get from the lecturers up there are that our students are almost the envy of the other students, because they have the skills of customer service, they have the real world skills of problem solving, they have I suppose they have the ability to be able to talk to other people, and these are real world skills that they've developed during their time working in hotels as part of our course and before coming to our course. And these are important skills, as I said, in any role. So the next slide is about, is a tourism job for me? So is a tourism job for you? What do you want to do? Do you want to do something that you love? Do you want flexible working options? Do you want to be able to develop personal and professional skills? You gain confidence because you're in a people-centered environment where you have to speak to people. That brings along with it a very social working environment. Great opportunities for career progression. The sort of travel and culture gives you great opportunity to expand your horizons. And, variety is the spice of life, as they say, so a job in tourism can give you very many different elements, from, running your own restaurant to being the financial manager for a large hospitality group like Marriott. As one example. So, these are some quotes that were published recently in the Fáilte Ireland report. So I love seeing people happy, and when they're on vacation, I love, and I love, and I'm in love with my sector. Flexible shifts suit my family life, avoiding childcare. 2 days are never the same. I meet lots of people, and that's something that we hear quite a lot of why people love the industry. The ability to have, no day is ever the same. You're always dealing with different people all the time. You know, and I suppose then career progression, training, and benefits. Those are all benefits of working in the hospitality industry. And one of the core things, I suppose, if we move on to the next slide, and during our time in Shannon, or a time in Shannon, we very much focus on the importance of that practical work. You know, both David and Tracy talked about practical work in the classroom, but we also do practical work you know, as part of the Shannon. And we have 2 placement periods that happen during our program in Shannon. So your first year in Shannon is spelt as an academic year, and your second year then is a 12-month placement working in an operational department of a hotel. And currently we have students across 8 different countries in Europe, primarily Ireland, the UK, France, Germany, Luxembourg, Belgium, and Spain. And depending on the language that students study, so if students study a language and have the legal right to work in France, etc., they can go in those areas. But we have a lot of students who study English or intercultural communication, and they stay in Ireland and remain in Ireland in their placements. And we work with many of the big sort of hotel names in Ireland. So we have students placements in Ashford Castle, Dromoland Castle, Adair Manor, Paris Court Hotel and Spa, in closer to Dublin, Cashel Palace. So these are big 5-star hotels, and students are working through the operational areas. So it focuses on their development of their culinary skills, housekeeping, food and beverage, front office. So the real sort of frontline positions that people go into. You know, during their role. And we're very proud the fact that our placement is 12 months. So many colleges work on a shorter placement opportunity with from 3 months to 6 months. But in Shannon, our 12-month placement is really a core part of our students developing real life skills that they then bring back to Shannon and use during their lectures in their final 2 academic years in Shannon. We also then have a final year placement, and actually this morning I was sending a message out to 61 students who are departing on their final year placement this week, and they're traveling to 8 different countries across, I suppose, across the world. And that includes Ireland, the UK, Australia, United States of America, and Canada, to name just a few. And that's a 9-month manager and training program. So where our year 2 placement is all about operational development, the final year placement is about the development of our students as managers. And again, you know, we're looking at them working in the operational areas of food and beverage and front office. But what we see here is now students who've taken an interest in specific areas, such as finance, revenue, HR, sales and marketing. And depending on the hotels and the opportunities that are available, different hotels and different companies will offer different roles. The majority of those manager and training roles will lie in the traditional areas of food and beverage and front office. But we are seeing more and more where hotels and companies are looking at managers or train to develop managers into the areas of finance, HR, and sales and marketing. And these are really important areas for our students during their final year. So these 2 years are classified as academic years as part of the study, and credits are awarded to them. So while you're on placement, there are academic work that you have to complete for language modules, for projects, as well as progress reports, which are completed between you and your manager and the human resources team in the hotel. So it's not just, I suppose, a year out working, just you know, working there. There is the academic side of those placements as well that are very, very important to us. We also have a postgraduate internship at Shannon. So our postgraduate programs also have an internship, and this is a 3-month hospitality internship in hospitality roles. And again, these are generally across food and beverage, front office, culinary, and finance. So they happen at the end of the postgraduate programs. and our students have currently completed their first month in those, and depending on experience. So some of our students who come into our master's programs don't have any hospitality or tourism experience, others have quite a lot. So depending on the experience that you have, you might find the role can be an operational role, a supervisory role, or in some cases a management role in those areas. But again, just showing the importance of having those roles in areas or practical areas and getting the practical experience while you are studying in Shannon is something that is extremely important. So Sarah, thank you. I think that's my last slide. So thank you very much to everyone for your time, and I'll pass you back to Sarah.
Thank you so much, Andrew. And there's actually a good few questions gone into the chat that you might be able to add a couple of bits to as well. Maybe while I'm just doing the last bit of the presentation. So a few on placements and things like that. So thank you so much for sharing all of that insight. And what I'm just going to go back to now is just to give you an overview of what exactly we do here in Shannon, the programs that we offer, if you're interested in these programs, how you would go about applying, and all of those things. So I suppose just to start off with, just to explain the range of programs that we have here in Shannon. So we do have a wide range of programs that run from International Foundation Business Program, which is a pathway program. So at foundation level, we have 2 degree programs, which we've spoken about today a lot, which are our Bachelor of Business Studies in International Hotel Management and our Bachelor of Commerce in International Hotel Management. These are really our two biggest programs and the programs that attract the most students to Shannon. And of course, I think that the practical side of these modules, the placement elements, the fact that you're getting that full business degree, but also the additional benefits that you get from working and learning about the hospitality industry and hotel management, are a really, really good combination. We also have 3 master's programs. We have an MSc in Business and Hospitality, an MSc in Global Hospitality Management and Intercultural Communication, and an MSc in Hospitality, Performance Revenue and Asset Management. So I suppose, as you can see from this list, we do take that revenue, finance, all of that very seriously. So it has its own master's program here that it is really, really important. So these are the range of programs that we offer in Shannon. And I suppose if you'd like to learn a little bit more about them, our colleagues in AECC can give you more information about these programs and go into detail. And I'll share my details as well at the end. So if anyone would like to, learn in a lot more details exactly what's on these programs and just to gain a little bit more knowledge, we can do that as well. There are a few reasons why I think we are chosen by a lot of students, and I suppose it would have been the reason why I chose to study in Shannon many years ago as well. We are experts in this area. We are specialists in hospitality and business education. And our college was founded in 1951. So we have a long history in this area and have built a lot of connections in the area and have built, of course, that reputation that we're known for around the world. We're also business, hospitality, and research expertise available here in the college. So this is an area, so research is an area that we really are pushing here in the college, that we are trying to increase our research output. And also we have a really strong focus on the teaching side. So it's not just the research and learning more about hospitality from a theory perspective. We also have a very strong, culture of teaching and putting the students first. We have a very strong reputation, which I've mentioned, globally in the hospitality industry. And you will find that if you go to different parts of the world, that if you go to speak to hotel managers, they generally have worked with somebody from Shannon at some point in their career, which is a really good thing as well. our Shannon Alumni Network, which Tracy spoke about earlier, and all of the great things about the Shannon Alumni Network are down to the very hard work of Tracy, for sure. But it is an amazing network of over 3,000 people that are really fantastic, and they really are, you know, they really are a real benefit to the college. They become your network when you are looking for jobs later on, but they also become your supports. If you're moving to another country, they become a support. You can join maybe a social gathering with other parts of the alumni network. And they really are a fantastic asset to the college. You're joining a campus with excellent student supports. So, you know, because we're a smaller campus, we really do have the opportunity to get to know our students very well. So that is something that is particularly important for those students that are traveling from the other side of the world to come to you know, to live in a different country that's very far away from home, that they know there is somebody that they can go and speak to. So we have lots of different supports in place. We have a student welfare officer, we have a student activities coordinator, we also have a mentor system, we have a class patron system, each class has a class tutor, we have an international student buddy system. So there really are so many different people there that are there to support and help you, which is really, really important. We also have fantastic academic supports. So I know that all of the academic team that are on the call today would be very used to having a knock on their door from a student, you know, that has a question or didn't understand something in a lecture. And I think that that's a really special thing in Shannon. It very much is an open door policy. You know, the lecturers are very giving of their time, and they are very supportive to the students. And if there is an issue or a question, they're very happy to help, which is really good. The career supports as well are fantastic. And I know we've mentioned those in the chat. So there was a few questions there. And Tracy mentioned that, you know, that she organizes the recruitment fair at the start of the year, which is fantastic for students to get part-time work. We also then have the placement office, which supports our students when they are going out on their placements and securing those placements, and also the internships for postgrad. And they really do guide the students through those processes. Also, I would have mentioned that as part of the degree program, there is a module that's actually called Skills for Work Life. And that is, it is exactly as it says, it's to prepare you for going out into the working world. So very practical skills that are really beneficial when you do actually go out looking for those jobs. The study structure it does give options for part-time work as well. So of course you're coming to Ireland to study. That is your priority. That is your main focus. But it is really good that you can also earn a little bit of money while you are doing that as well, because we know it's expensive to come and study internationally. So it is great to have that you know, that job as well, just to get some extra pocket money to have. So a lot of our undergraduate students would work maybe at the weekends, which is a really good option for them. They might work a little bit more maybe in the third and fourth year. The first year is quite intense, so we recommend not too much work in the first year. And our postgraduate students, the same. They have the opportunity also to work at the weekends. And then we advise that you kind of give yourself, you know, the maybe midweek to put towards your studies and to, you know, your research, your assignments, everything like that. It's also a very diverse classroom. And I know there was a question there in the chat about joining the college as a mature student. And we do have students that join us that are different from different backgrounds, that are different ages, that are, you know, really are coming from all different walks of life and all different parts of the world, which is really, really nice. And I hope that every one of those students will feel welcomed when they do come to our campus. Excuse me. So if you were interested in applying for a place at Shannon College, we have two different application processes. So if you're interested in joining us for an undergraduate program or our foundation program, you can make an application directly to our office here in Shannon. The applications come in to my colleague, Joan Markham, who's our admissions officer, and it's free to make an application for these programs. It's a paper application that you fill out. You attach all of your transcripts, your previous education to the application, and then you send it back to Joan. Joan will review then your application, and then if you're eligible, she will get back to you to organize a Zoom interview. So we do an interview with all of our students. We have an English language requirement for all of our programs. So for our foundation program, it's a 5.0 in IELTS required. And for our degree programs, it's a 6.0 required for IELTS. And then you'll see here, these are our fees for 2025. So the foundation program is €13,000 and the degree program this year is €49,650. For postgraduate applications, these will go through the University of Galway's online applications portal. So they all go through this same system, and there is an application fee of €35 to make an application. This application fee allows you to apply for 2 programs within the university, so it gives you an option to do that. There's also a Zoom interview for the postgraduate programs as well. And there is a requirement for you to have a second-class honours degree in a related field. So we would consider a hospitality degree, a degree in business, a degree in tourism. Of course, a degree in hotel management would be fantastic. And then there is a star beside this, because what is also important is that if you have a degree that's in a different background, or you coming from a degree that's completely different, but you have worked in the industry, you've worked in hotels for maybe 10 years, and now you've realized that this is your passion and you want to upskill, we can also accept applications from a student like that. And then at the interview stage, we obviously will review your CV and talk you through and make sure that this is something that you really have made the right decision for. The IELTS requirement for postgrad is a 6.5. And then the fees for the postgraduate programs in 25 are €19,000. And of course, these webinars are being hosted by AECC, and in Indonesia, they're one of our fantastic partners that are there to support you through the application process, through the visa application process, through everything like that. So they will be there to help you with all of that as well. We do have scholarships as well for 2025, and they are open for a couple more days, so they'll close at the end of this month. So we do have one 50% merit-based scholarship available for undergraduate applicants, and then we have €2,000 global achievement scholarships available as well. And these ones, there's no additional application process. For the merit-based scholarship, there is an application process, so you need to apply for that one, and you need to be an offer holder. So if you are interested, you're coming up to the deadline, so you'd want to get that application in quickly. For postgraduate students, there are 6 merit-based scholarships valued at €2,000 each as well. And again, you do need to make your application for them. So please get those applications in quickly as possible. Life in Shannon, I suppose, as I mentioned before, you're not just coming to Shannon to study, you are coming to Ireland to live here and to experience a new culture, a new country, and everything like that. So then you are going to join lots of different things. So I would suggest that the more you get involved in, the more you will get out of your experience here in Shannon. So there's so many things that you can get involved in. We have lots of different clubs, societies. We have different events that you can get involved in. There's social events, sports events, cultural events. Lots of our students take part in different types of competitions, both here in Ireland and internationally. There's great opportunities for volunteering. You can also become a student ambassador, which is a great option as well for students. So there really is plenty for you to do here in Ireland. And I know this was mentioned, this does change every single year. These are some of the hotel companies that we've worked with over the years that I'm sure many will be very familiar to you, but they do change all the time and there's new ones added all the time. Also, if you would like to use this QR code, this will allow you to go to our website, which will allow you to download any of our prospectus. And also, if you're interested, it's a good idea to follow us on Instagram. It's a good way to get an insight into the day-to-day of what's happening in Shannon and everything like that. And then also on LinkedIn, we would post lots of activities and achievements of alumni and everything like that as well. And here also you'll see an email address for myself and for my colleague Joan, the admissions officer. So, you know, if you do want to ask any questions, please send them on to me. I'm very happy to help. And if you do want to make that application, that would be going to Joan. So I'm going to stop sharing now, and if anyone has any questions that you would like to ask outside of the chat, sorry, I'll just take a look. I think everyone has been answering your questions as they're going along. But if there are any additional questions, please feel free to raise your hand, and we can take questions verbally as well, or on the chat, of course.
Right. Thank you, Sarah, Andrew, Tracy, and David for all the explanation and for answering some of the questions that come earlier. Maybe I would have some question from myself. Like you guys mentioned, you have an academic support and also some counseling support. Like what if the student is a first year student who still struggling to adapt to the new culture, new environment, and possibly new education system, and they're kind of struggling, and yet they might be a little bit shy to come out to you guys. How can they safely reach the support that Shannon College given to the student, and what kind of holistic or maybe one-on-one support that student can get without feeling like they're being pressured to take one, or making them feel safe to reach out. Thank you.
So I think the fact that we have so many different types of supports here in Shannon, you know, really helps the students, because so firstly, we do have, as I said, we have a student welfare officer who would be a really good point of contact for any student that is struggling or having any difficulty. We also then have the class tutor. So the class tutor is a staff member that really becomes the class's parent for a while they're here in Shannon. So they would look after that class group individually. They then also are going to have a staff member who is their buddy. So each individual student will have a staff member buddy. And then there's also a student mentor. So they'll have maybe a third or a fourth year student as a student mentor to them. So these are all different types of supports. We also do have student counselling available here. So that can be arranged for students anonymously as well. And the thing is, we're a smaller campus. So it means that the students do get to know the staff here in Shannon very well. They get to know their lecturers very well. And it means that, you know, maybe it's not the lecturer, or maybe it's not your buddy that you feel most comfortable talking to, but we would hope that the student will find at least one staff member that they are very comfortable with, they've gotten to know very well, that they can approach. We also do organize an orientation program when students arrive. So they will be introduced to all of the different supports at that stage. So they will be very familiar with exactly who they should go to with, you know, whatever particular problem there is. And additionally, we do a cultural immersion program, and that goes through kind of, I suppose, the common things that come up for students who have moved from another country. So we go through culture shock, we go through the different foods, we go through all of those different things that are, you know, they might seem very small, but they can be very big if somebody is struggling. So we do cover all of those areas, and I think that most students will find somewhere to get that support.
Thank you, Sarah, for the answer. How about how about if the student have some issue with their visas or maybe passport that they need to extend? For example, that the student needs to extend their passport and they might be clueless on how to do, what to do, and what to prepare. Do you guys also give support for that matters?
I'm not sure I'm very clear on the question. Do you mean as in when they're here to get their student visa? Is it support here for that?
Some sort of like if they have any visa issue or passport issue or any sort of immigration issue, do you guys support that?
I suppose we are very happy to guide students in terms of who or where they should go to, but I suppose we wouldn't be experts in immigration, or we're not involved in the immigration process. So while we can give guidance and we can guide people in the right direction, it would be it would be a completely other department of the country that would really be involved in that we would guide them and give them support, but we wouldn't be the ones to, I suppose, to assist in passport issues, visa issues. We obviously can't make any decisions on that side. So it would be guidance we'd be giving as opposed to applications or anything like that.
Thank you, Sarah, for answering that matters. I think all the question in the Q&A box is already addressed, and thank you so much for being so informative and so insightful. I'm sure that not only me, that everyone who joined this webinar get more info and insight about the finance insight in hospitality and tourism, about the revenue, about the management and financial stuffs, and also about all the support that you guys give. And the most important thing is the work placement that the student can take during their study. And also for everyone who joined this webinar, if you guys interested to study in Shannon College, University of Galway, you can go to your AECC counselor or go to our Instagram to be connected to your counselor, and we will help you from the university application, visa, and housing placement as well. And well, I think there's no more question coming in, and we can wrap this session. Thank you, Sarah, Tracy, Andrew, and David for your time and for all the info that you guys give to us. And have a good day and have a very good morning, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.